people on, like Tyrone's on today. And Tyrone, thanks so much for jumping on today. We are blessed to have you. But people like Tyrone and many others will make a massive, massive impact. So first things first, Tyrone, good morning. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Good morning, Ken. Can everybody hear me good? That's
yeah. I'm going to pin our videos so they can see us. And we are going to chat a little bit. Yes, but we can hear you fine. How are you today?
Doing great. Any Carolina Panthers, Patriots, Colts in the house?
Go Pats.
Anyone?
There we go.
Tough crowd today. So it's funny because I'm in Michigan, as you may know, and so there's a ton of diehard Lions fans here, and every year they have hope. Every year, and they get disappointed.
This would be the year.
Yeah. So Tyrone, thanks so much for jumping on. I know we've getting to know each other a little bit on some of the calls that we're on, and I see all your Super Bowl trophies behind you, your helmets and things. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about growing up? I know you're from Georgia, LaGrange area, and as you may notice, I have a 404 number too. I grew up in Georgia for a period of time, so I'm a Grady baby, for the record. I don't know if you knew that or not. But do you mind sharing a little bit about life and growing up, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Ken. Yeah, Grady Hospital, right off of 85.
Yep.
I-85. Growing up, LaGrange, Georgia. For those who don't know, LaGrange, Georgia is about an hour and 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I can make it in 50 minutes, but depending on how fast you're going, that determines how fast you can get to LaGrange. But it's 85 south, in between Columbus, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia. So LaGrange, rich in tradition. A lot of athletes have come from LaGrange. Just to give you guys just a little bit about the history of the football team before I dive into myself. Of all the high schools in the state of Georgia, this is kind of where my mentality started, again, where I grew up, right? Of all the high schools in the state of Georgia, I know it's Michigan, we got people from the state of Michigan and all over the place. So I'm sure there are some high schools that are real dominant in the state of Michigan. But in the state of Georgia, LaGrange High School is the second winningest high school in the state of Georgia. So right behind Valdosta High School. I know Ken know about Valdosta, but LaGrange High School, if you don't believe me, go Google it. LaGrange High School, second winningest program in the state of Georgia. So I say all that to say that that's where my mentality, started from. Grew up humble beginnings. We had financial struggles, just like majority of us. We're having some type of struggle somewhere. Some people did not have the love of their father in the house. Some people did not have the love of their mother. Well, I had both of those. And like I said, everybody has some type of commonality in life that we dealt with growing up. Some type of trial, test, or temptation. So poverty was my hurdle. And it helped me to develop my mentality of toughness. And I'm a firm believer. That's why I believe even with our kids today, I think we should not allow them to have a bye, as they would say in football, a bye, or be excluded or exempt from taking the tough lessons of life, because it's the tough lessons of life that prepare you for the rest of your life. In the early beginnings, the toughness that you learn, the mentality that you learn helps you to propel going forward. But growing up, I was the only child. I'm an only child. So no, I wasn't spoiled. Like I said, poverty, spoiled in poverty, right? But we had a lot of love, a lot of love, a lot of love. You know, my father, he was the one that actually, I'm a Bible person. Praise be to God. I want to thank God also for giving me this opportunity to be here before you guys. My father was the one that was the spiritual strength in our house. And I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from just watching him handle situations with he and my mother. They would have arguments, and anybody that tell you they grew up in a house where there were no arguments, then I gotta believe something else. They were talking to somebody else. If you grew up in a house with love, then sometimes it's gonna be some tough love. But I always saw my father at nightfall. He was in the house. So I learned from that no matter what happens, a real man is there to handle the situations when the lights, the sun goes down, or when the sun comes up, the father is there. So that's another story for another day. That's why I love trying to educate people about the family, because I believe if we get the family structure right, then all these other problems that we see in this world, all this confusion that people have, we could eradicate that. But anyways, growing up as an only child, you know, that's, I don't want, I can continue to go on and on, but I want to right there. So, but yeah, only child, loving family, you know, poverty, but I overcame it. You know, so a lot of people don't know my story. That's why I had to put it in the book, in my book. And even in my book, Ultimate Success in the Game of Life, which I'm not going to jump into that. I know we're going to talk about that later on, but there are a lot of things in my book that people don't know. And I'm just giving you guys a glimpse of what it was like, you know, coming and there's no food in the refrigerator. There was food in the refrigerator, but nothing that I wanted to eat. So you had to make do. You had to make it work, you know. Sometimes you had to try to put a circle into a square. But it taught you, my growing up taught me how to be creative in adversity. So, you know, even a lot of us now, you guys right now, you just think about it. You have creativity inside of you. If you don't believe me, look at these past several years. We faced adversity. How creative did you become? So again, I'll end it with that right there, Ken. But a lot of love. I wouldn't trade my childhood in for anything. I know a lot of people say, man, I wish I could change my life. No, I look at my life and I see that everything had a purpose, because if it didn't, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to kind of to share with you guys a little bit of after obviously growing up and performing at LaGrange High School in football and track, you know, he was the first player to be selected in the first round from Fort Valley State University, right? In the NFL draft. And his career, he had 41 starts, 42 games, 17 interceptions, 70 punt returns for right at 1,000 yards, and set the school record in a 200-meter dash. And so you go on to college, and you know, just by making those decisions, by you going from high school to college, my guess is you inspired a ton of people in your community, in your family, other players. What did it feel like to that day on draft day and to hear your name called? What was that? How did that feel? What, like, can you describe that to everybody?
Yeah, if I may, Ken, I'm gonna go back and I want to add in something that is very powerful that was not mentioned from high school to college. And again, I am a informational speaker. A lot of people classify themselves as a motivational speaker or inspirational speaker. Well, I am an informational speaker. Okay, I know a lot of you are saying, what's the difference? What's an informational speaker? I could read your mind. I could read your mind. Motivation, anybody can be motivated. Okay, you can be motivated. Somebody can give you a Newt Rockney speech. Go, 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 go. You get motivated. All right. But then what happens when you're 1 week, 1 month, 1 year still into that problem? Your motivation kind of goes, or somebody can inspire you. They can inspire you. You can see somebody going across the finish line, and like the story I just described, you know, hey, we grew up in poverty. I grew up in poverty. That can inspire you. But what happens 1 week, 1 month, 1 year? But when somebody gives you information, then information, when used properly, will keep you motivated. It will keep you inspired, because when that starts to happen, information gonna come back to you and say, hey, pick yourself up. Come on, keep your eyes on the prize. You know why we're doing this. You go back up. So again, that's why I tell people I am an informational speaker. And sometimes I give so much information that I tell people you will have to hire somebody. You will have to hire somebody to help you misunderstand what I'm telling you. But going back, I'll say, Ken, I quit football in high school, people. I quit football in high school. Now, all them accolades that Ken acknowledged and spoke about, you know, a lot of people don't know I quit football in high school. It wasn't because I did something terrible and disgusting. I just made a decision that I didn't really use knowledge about because of fear, so to speak, fear. And that's why, you know, I have a whole nother thing about fear. Don't let fear cause you to miss out. But I quit football in high school, came to practice late, and didn't tell the coach. And the worst feeling ever in the world is to show up somewhere and you are the last one to walk onto the practice field or walk into the meeting room. It's like, oh my goodness, everything just stops. And they look at you, it's like all the eyes are following you till you sit down or follow you wherever. So being a senior, you know, we had, like I said, a rich program. And there were just certain things that, no, we have to address this right now. So when the coach addressed me in practice, I took it personal. You got a young man here, okay? Adversity, didn't know how to handle it. So I handled adversity through fear of, oh, he's rejecting me. So I'm gonna, like, my pride stepped up. And it was just a dumb decision. But anyways, I quit football in high school, still went to college. And yes, I was the first NFL selection from Fort Valley State, which is a Division II HBCU, which is a historical Black college and university. But not only was I the first rounder from Fort Valley State, praise be to God, I was the first defensive selection. What are they at right here? This team right here. Their first existence in the NFL in 1990.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they said, you know what? Kerry Collins, any Penn State Nittany Lions, Pennsylvania people here, remember Kerry Collins, quarterback for Penn State. He was the first ever offensive selection, number 5 overall. And I was the first ever defensive selection. Again, that's why I tell people, it don't matter. That's why I love telling this story, praise God. You can mess up, fall, falter, be your own worst enemy. And if you know who you are, what you have, and what you can do, you can still make it to your destiny, because delay, people, does not mean denial. It just means that you have to change your structure and change your strategy. You have to adjust to the new environment. Okay. So again, being the first ever defensive selection ever in that team's ever draft history. Didn't come from Texas, didn't come from Michigan, came from Fort Valley University. So yeah, Ken, I just had to go back and say that, but it was a wonderful moment, man, to be drafted. You know, it was a paradigm shift. Like I said, going from struggle, lacking, to, hey, mom, dad, what you guys want? So that's why I tell people I am a bridge. I am a connector. I'm like, I know what it's like to have, not have, the have-nots. And I know what it's like to have. So when the haves don't understand the have-nots, I come in and I say, okay, this is what they're saying. This is the language. When they say this is what they mean. And vice versa. When the have-nots can't understand the haves, I'm like, hey, this is what they're saying. It's the same terminology that you use right here. So that's how I connected. That's why I'm thanking God that I'm here to help whoever I can help, whoever hears the words of wisdom that I speak fall upon, then I hope that they're blessed and they go out and they live life peacefully, joyfully, and lovingly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know we haven't talked too much. I am a Penn State grad. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know we haven't gotten into that, but yeah. Yeah, it's funny because speaking of Kerry Collins, I have on my wall here, I got a group of football players. Got Kerry Collins, Franco Harris, John Cappelletti, Joe Paterno, a couple of those guys up there on one of my Penn State albums. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Kerry. Yep. We came in the same draft, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. So speaking of obviously, in your own right, you were a 12-year starter, 2-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots. You know, some of these guys talk about playing with you. You obviously got a chance to play with others. So I'm curious if someone talked about you on the football field and the type of player you were, how do you think they'd describe you?
Actually, I'm glad you asked me that question. That's a great question. I got so many stories, man. Oh, goodness. I start with Jerry Rice. Then I moved to Deion Sanders, and then I moved to Kevin Green, the late Kevin Green, and a few other stories that people said about me. Well, we're getting ready to play this game in San Francisco, right? My second year in the league, and I was a punt returner, so I played a punt return and I played corner. So the specialist, it's like the during the pregame, the kickers would go out first. You know, for you guys who come to the football game, you see them guys out there kicking. It's an order that they send guys out, right? So there's a big board in the locker room, and it has specialists at whatever time, kickers, returners, blah, 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 blah. And then the offensive linemen, they're all the way the last ones to come out onto the field because there's an order that they have set on every team. No matter what it is, high school, college, or pro. So anyways, we're in San Francisco, and I'm out catching punts, right? And my back is towards the entrance or the exit that the 49ers come out of their locker room to go onto the field. So I'm catching my punt, and then I go back. It's about 3 of us back there catching punts. So I catch mine, I go back, other 2 go, I come back up, catch mine, we rotate. So I'm sitting back, took my helmet off, and I'm like just standing and waiting. And somebody comes, and I feel like some arm go on my shoulder pad, and you know how we are. If somebody touches on the right shoulder, which way we turn it? We turn it to the right, So it was Jerry Rice. He put his arm around me on the right side, so I looked, but then he spoke to me on the left, and I turned around to the left side, and Jerry says, you're having a great year this year. Keep it up. I'm like, oh man, are you kidding me? I'm a second year in the league and the greatest receiver of all times. This guy don't beat so many defensive backs like a drum. I'm like, but he comes to me and says, you're having a great season, keep it up. I'm like, man, I don't know if you guys know what that actually means. Whoever you think, whoever you work for, whatever you do, even if you work for your own self, or if whatever you believe in, it's almost like God coming down and saying, hey, you're doing a good job. Well done, my daughter. Well done, my son. I'm like, oh man, I can't tackle Jerry today, man. I'm like, it could have been a ploy too. He could have just been saying that so I wouldn't.
He's setting you up.
And set me up, exactly. But the second thing, Deion Sanders. I think Deion is the greatest cover corner to ever play the game. And that's who I studied, so to speak, because he played here in Atlanta, and I went to Fort Valley, which is near Macon, Georgia, which is 2 hours, 75 south of Atlanta. And we're getting ready to play the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. I'm a big Dallas Cowboy fan, right? I'm like, I grew up watching Tony Dorsett and Roger Staubach and Danny White and Billy Joe Dupree and Everson Walls and all these guys that star in the helmet. I'm like, you were either a Dallas Cowboy fan or a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. You know what I mean? So I'm like, Cowboys. So we get ready to play the Cowboys. And again, I'm out punt returning, go out with a specialist. And after we had done all about punt returning, duties. Now I'm waiting for the defensive backs to come out. So I just take a knee on our logo in the middle of the field. right at the 50-yard line. I just took a knee and just looked at the Dallas Cowboys. I'm like, oh man, there go Troy Aikman, man. Again, it's my second year, right? I'm like, oh, there go Troy Aikman. Man, look at Michael Irvin. And I'm like, oh man, look, there's Barry Switzer, all those people, man. And so I'm getting ready to walk out, go over where the defensive backs are. And then all of a sudden I see the bandana, number 21 running out their locker, their tunnel. And he comes directly over to me. And he says, play your game today, young buck. Play your game today. No, he said, play your game today, young fella. Play your game today, young fella. I'm like, oh man, Dion. I was like, Dion just spoke to me, man. I'm like, are you kidding me? But again, I say all that to say that I believe that everybody respected my game. Coming from a Division II small school, I played hard. I would tackle the guys in practice. They would get mad at me. Tyrone, stop tackling. The coaches would say, Tyrone, stop tackling the starters, which you're not supposed to tackle the starters in practice, right? You don't want to get them hurt. So, but they respected my game. I played hard. Kevin Green told me, the late Kevin Green, he says that I'm one of the top corners that he ever played with. He said, you were not scared to come tackle. He said, you played a complete game at corner. And so, just to, hear those guys who
awesome.
People respect to say to me, they respect my game. It's awesome. It's awesome.
That's awesome. And speaking of, one of the greatest quarterbacks, Tom Brady, I got a chance to see him play. Anything that he or maybe others on that New England team, you guys won a couple, and I read, things about you were injured one year and then you had to bounce back and you had to rebuild yourself. And, there was years that you were a starter and then years you're on the reserve team. So I don't think everybody knows, like, the fight, the year in and year out fight you have to be just to be on the field. But what did you learn about maybe yourself by playing with guys like that?
Well, I'll say this about the reserve, start right there and then move backward, jaywalk, as they would say. Injury reserve, I think that's what you were alluding to, injury reserve. Like I tell people, for 12 years, I just didn't play for 4 or 5 different teams. I started for 5 different teams. That's just like a CEO, I was a CEO of 5 different companies. I wasn't just an employee. I was a CEO. Now, I did get injured in 2005, and myself, Ty Law, we were kind of beat down in the secondary, so to speak. And Randall Gay and Asante Samuel, they had their opportunity to start. And that's the thing about the NFL. Like they say, not for long. I know that NFL stands for National Football League, but it's revolving doors, people, revolving doors. And every day, you have to be like on your game. That's why I wish everybody could play sports. I don't care if you're not good in sports, but just to understand that competitive mindset that you have to have. I know a lot of people talk about Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant, or whoever, the Mamba mentality. I think everybody has a mentality. Ken has a mentality. John has a mentality. Taylor has a mentality. Edgar has a mentality. Tyrone has a mentality. It's your mentality. So you have to develop that mentality. So again, injured reserve, but being in that organization, I learned a lot. And I learned a lot about adjustments. That's the other thing that I think people miss out on. And before I get to Tom, I say this real quick. You can have IQ. We talk about the quotients that we're supposed to have, the IQ, intellectual quotient, EQ, emotional quotient. And I think it's about 5 other quotients, but there's one quotient that I believe if you can possess this one, I believe you can excel in anything, whether we're in a recession or not in a recession, whether you falter, or whether you're on top, you can sustain. It's called adjustment, adjustability, the ability to adjust. A lot of people do not have the ability to adjust. Even the most intellectual person does not have the ability to adjust. There are people who are not as smart, as a person that they are basically over. But why is that? Hold on, if it's all about IQ, then this person should be the CEO. No, there are people who are so emotional that when situations happen, they can't control their emotions. So there's a reason. You don't have to be the best at it. I think you have to understand it. And I believe if you know how to adjust and make those adjustments, know when to be intellectual. Because sometimes you can't be the smartest one in the room, even though you are the smartest one in the room. I learned this from listening to Nelson Mandela. He learned his leadership from his father, he said. Most of us, if we look at the meeting rooms, wherever we have our conferences with the business, we sit at a rectangular table, right? It's a rectangular. That's a reason for that. That's a psychological effect with that rectangular table. What that rectangular table says is the two people on the end, they are in charge. Think about your own household. When you sat at the table to eat dinner, who was at the head of the table? The father and the mother, right? What do they mean? What does that mean? They are the head. But what I learned from listening to Nelson Mandela is a great leader, they sit in a circle. They make everybody sit in a circle, okay? Because when you sit in a circle, when you walk in, you don't know who's the boss. You don't know who's the boss, okay? And also what he said his dad would do, his dad would propose a question, but then he would not answer it until he has allowed everybody else to answer. You got people in this world who are CEOs, they say, okay, here's the question. What are we gonna do for lunch? Now, I wanna go to a steakhouse. What about you guys? Everybody like, hold on, you're my boss. So I go to a steakhouse as well, because you don't want to lose your job, right? So again, what I've learned as well is that the same thing I saw in that New England Patriots organization, everybody, even though they knew Bill Belichick was the head man, he allowed everybody to be who they are. And there were times that he would ask us, and that's what having a circle of leadership does. It allows everybody to answer, and allows the person who is the head to get an opportunity to hear something that the head may not understand. So that's why I've also learned that you're only as good as the company you keep. So a wise person surrounds themselves with wise counsel. That's why they're wise, okay? So they just are the ones that go out there first. So I learned that about leadership, circle versus rectangular. And also the players that I played with, everybody brought something different to the table. People ask me about Belichick. Again, he's the smartest coach I ever played for. The man, he knows his ABCs backward and forward, and people ask me about Tom, what makes him so good? Tom is not the most athletic quarterback. Are you kidding me? Would you want Tom on your 4x40 team? Not no 4x100 team in the Olympics. I wouldn't put Tom on my 4x40 team. I'm like, no. But the one thing that separated Tom was his passion. And I always tell people that I think Tom had a purpose. He had a purpose. You look back over his career, even in college at Michigan, kind of like the underdog. And I feel like the reason why the underdog excels, they had a chip on their shoulder, because I think they have a purpose. Their purpose is to show people that they were wrong about them. So I believe that purpose is so powerful that if you understand it, that it becomes personal. So that's why they take things personal, because they understand they have a purpose. And my purpose is to show everybody that you're wrong. You're wrong about what you said about me. So when you understand your purpose, it becomes personal. So Tom had a purpose, and that drove his fire. And I think anybody that's excelled, you guys, the reason why you are excelling, you are better than the next person, you're in that position that you're in, is because you believe in yourself. You have a fire inside of your gut that will not go out. And you won't let it go out because you have a purpose.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so tell us about, so you finished playing football.
Yeah.
You said the NFL is not for long, right? The National Football League, not for long. So tell us about life now. I know you have a major impact in the community. You take care of, you're passionate about developing young people and the different charities and foundations you've started. I know you and I have met on our calls that we do about leadership and business and things. Tell us about life after football and what you're doing now.
Yeah, life after football, that's another great question, Ken. A lot of guys, they, regardless of the sport, and sometimes in business, when people retire, the hardest adjustment, again, I talked about adjustment, right? Is to leave something that you've done for years and years and years. I've never seen a CEO like they have I know that they've had parties, but I haven't been a part of a party where the CEO is giving their last speech and they're going to be removed and their retirement. But I've seen a lot of athletes. We've seen a lot of athletes. You guys have seen a lot of athletes on TV. They get teary-eyed, because it's like all at one moment, everything from the birth of their career to the ceasing of their career is reality now. So that transition is hard for some guys because they understand that their whole schedule is about to change. When you get up in the morning, where are you going? The locker room, the guys, and that's what I tell people I miss the most. It's the guys in the locker room. I don't miss, I guess two things I miss. I miss the guys in the locker room and them big paychecks. The way they get paid this day and age, oh my goodness, man. But it's ridiculous. But when you retire, you just miss the camaraderie with the guys and that scheduling, that structure. So when guys leave, they don't know what to do. Some guys, I believe, go into depression. They don't know what to do. But for me, praise God, luckily I had my family. I had my kids. At the time, I would just get up and yeah, I took some time off. I took about 2 years where I didn't do anything. I had to get it out my system. And before I jump into the kid thing and that energy being moved over to my kids. But for about 2 or 3 years, I didn't really do anything. I kind of wanted to detox. It took me about 5 years before I actually walked back into an NFL stadium. Because again, it's almost like seeing your old girlfriend or your old boyfriend. You're like, no, I'm not ready to see her. I'm not ready to see him yet. So you kind of okay, give me time. Okay. But I finally went back into the stadium. Actually, it was here in Atlanta when the Atlanta Falcons played the Carolina Panthers. Being a Carolina Panther, I went there and it was my first time. But I was able to retire, I believe, and it didn't affect me as much because I was able to pour into my kids. I started coaching my kids and being, excited for them. And still, I would work out with them. So I had a way to transition that energy, to move it from here over to here. And then I started my Tyrone Poole 38 Foundation, which I had always been giving back to my community. From when I was in college, I used to give back. I had 2 scholarships when I was in college. I had a track scholarship and I had a football scholarship. So life was pretty good for me at Fort Valley State. I know they talk about the NILs, but hey, if there were NILs back in the day when I was going to Fort Valley, I probably could say I had NILs as well. But it was good. Everything was good. So I would always give back. Even before I started the Tyrone Poole Foundation, I would basically go to Costco and I would buy some non-perishable goods. And my mother, she would actually find 5 families that were in need, and I would rent a van and I would just drive down. And we would just go to their house and knock on their doors and say, hey, big box of food and stuff like that. So I've always been a giver because I saw giving in my family. I started giving in my family. So I started Tyrone Poole 38 Foundation, and then I created a couple of businesses, and, you know, things were kind of slow, you know, entrepreneurship. And then I wrote a book. I wrote my first book, Ultimate Success in the Game of Life. And then I went on and I said, hey, let's create a piece of equipment. So I'm an inventor as well. So if you go and look up my name in the US Patent and Trade Office website, then you look up Tyrone Poole, you'll see that I am an inventor. So when my kids were doing reports, it's kind of funny. They, you know, I'm like, okay, what are you guys doing reports on? Oh, we got to do it on a famous athlete. Hey, you got your dad, all right? Report on. Oh, we got to do it on a U.S. inventor. Hey, you got your dad, you know. Who you doing your report on today? Famous author. Hey, you got your dad. I'm like, you got everything right here. I'm like, you know, so, but, you know, God has allowed me to do a lot of great things. And now I'm partnering with someone, and we've created a safety app. It's called the Bullying Buddy, and it's called the Bullying Buddy is K through 12. And we have STOMP, STOMP, which is an acronym for Stop Traumatizing Others Mentally and Physically. Bullying Buddy right now is in Apple and Google stores. Downloads, you know, so you know, if you guys could check it out, it's a great app. The websites are Bullying Buddy.world and Stomp, STOMP.world. And yeah, you know, we're gonna be like Amazon. We're starting out young. We like Nike. We're starting out young, but we feel like we have a resolution to all of this bullying, cyber stuff that's happening in schools, and also sex trafficking, domestic violence, all kinds of stuff that happens to the elderly, just happen to human beings, period. I think we've, you know, God has allowed us to kind of, you know, put our niche, and we're very, very happy in the direction in which we're going. So, you know, other than just continue to raise my kids and be a voice for them, my daughter, she's a junior. She runs track, 400, 200. My son, he is a sophomore, plays football, runs track. And my other son, he is a dentist. He's in dental school. So, you know, I thank God that, you know, they're doing well. And I thank God for, you know, the many other things that I have going. And oh, I got to say this and I'll close. I also developed supplements. I'm in the supplement business as well. Work That Thing Supplements, workthatthing.com. But, you know, my years and years of my body being my business, unlike a lot of people who are selling supplements, a lot of them really, they're just selling it because supplementation, fitness is a big business. But for me, it's personal. Like I said, purpose. My purpose is to make sure that everybody's body, which is your business, is healthy, because it was my business. I learned a whole lot about fitness and nutrition from some great people. And I know what worked because it worked for me. And if it worked for me, I believe it'll work for other people too. So that's Work That Thing Nutritions, workthatthing.com. So I know that was a mouthful, Ken. There's a whole lot, but God got me doing a lot of things, man.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And you know, listen, I think the neat thing is, no matter what industry, what organization, what path we take, when you get to a certain level of success, you can make an impact on people, and that's different for everybody in different ways. You know, in our organization, I mentioned when I started the call, I the coaching, the changing the world one leader at a time. I know there's people in this call that they're taking away nuggets of information, and my hope is the thousands of subscribers that jump on at some point, they do the same. And you know, I just really appreciate your time. Obviously, a very busy guy, a lot on your plate. Thank you so much. Any final life lessons you'd like to share? And my buddy Ed jumped on this morning. He's a big Falcons fan, so when you said the Falcons, he got excited.
Yeah. You know what, Ed? Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're doing well. again, Ken, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the platform. And I'll just say, if you guys do have an opportunity, like I said, you know, my book, Ultimate Success in the Game of Life, very impactful book, very impactful book. The book is not about me. This is a book about principles of life. So just like a playbook, if you want to learn what it's like to play in the Super Bowl, then you go find somebody who has played in the Super Bowl. That's what coaches do. First time coaches go into the Super Bowl, they always go ask somebody who has been there. So I do believe that life is full of principles, and life is a bunch of classrooms, okay? The school of life. And all of us are going to take these classes. You're not exempt. You're not exempt. You're always going to take some class in trials, some class in tests, some classes in temptations, okay? But there are principles on how to evade, principles on how to sustain. And that's why I kind of wrote my book, Ultimate Success in the Game of Life, because I do believe success is relevant. But if you want to have ultimate success, which I think all of us do, whether you want to be a great parent, whether you want to be a great employer, a great employee, I'm like, there are principles. So my book, it can be found at TyronePoole38.com. Again, the book can be found anywhere, but I tell people, when you go to my website, TyronePoole38.com, you are helping me to continue to help other people, you know, whether through my foundation where we help families. And like I said earlier, family is it's the heartbeat of my foundation. We put on father and daughter events, father and son, mother and daughter events, family events. We got an event that we're doing August 7th in Maryland. Again, if we fix the structure of the family, I think we can save the future. Because right now we're kind of, you know, holding on, you know, but I think we can get back to where family is the strength, and we can help our kids grow, and they can help their children to the 10th generation. So we can straighten that thing back up. But if you guys would do that for me, I appreciate it. I sign all my books personally. So if you get a book and somebody show you an Ultimate Success in the Game of Life book, and it doesn't have a signature, then that means they didn't get it from me. So, and it's signed, yes, they got it from me. Plus, this is a big old trading card. Not only do you get information, but later on in life, when you decide to give it to a collector, yeah, you could probably get you a little bit of money. Get your money. Here's what I share with you guys. Yeah, I share with you guys real quick. I'm not gonna go through it in depth, but if I can leave you guys with something, I'm leaving you with 7 things that I think will help your life very quickly, okay? And hopefully, Ken, I have another opportunity some other time to go in depth with this, okay?
Awesome. Go for it.
7 things if you guys want to have great success, okay? 7 is the number of completion. So if you understand this, you will be on your way. All right, you got to know your environment. You got to know your environment. Your life is a concert, people. Your life is a concert. And who are the people that can disrupt the concert the most? The people who are at the front of the stage, okay? You are the performer. You got to be careful of the people that you put in front of you, the people that you hang out with, the people who you get your energy from, okay? Because the negative or the wrong person can disrupt your future, all right? You could delay yourself. You probably won't be denied, but you could delay yourself long as you are still wondering and you don't come to yourself, if that makes any sense. Second thing is you got to understand that it's only a season. No matter what you're going through, it's only a season, okay? They talk about this recession. It's only a season. They talk about real estate is at a boom. It's only for a season. Where you are weight-wise or health-wise, it's only for a season. If you do the right things, you will go out of winter. If you feel like you're in winter, you will go out of winter, and spring is around the corner. Now, you can also be in summer, and hey, I'm having fun. But understand, fall is coming too. So prepare, all right? The third thing is the person in the mirror. The person in the mirror. The only person that can stop you is the person that you look at every day in the mirror, okay? It's not your whoever. It's not your boss. It's not your husband. It's not your wife. It's not your mother. It's not your father. It's not your brother. Not your sister. It's not the person down the street. The person that can knock you off, stop you, or keep you from going forward is the person you look at every day in the mirror. So that's the person that has the power. The inner me sometimes could be the inner enemy, the enemy in me that's keeping you from excelling, okay? The person in the mirror, take care of that person. The battle of the mind, that's where everything wins or losses come from how you think, okay? Every battle you go in, like they talk about in sports, they say 90% of it, and I believe it, 90% of it, of who gonna win comes from right here. All right. I play with guys who are not as talented, but man, their mentality, whew, they played bigger. I played bigger than what I was. I'm only 5'9". I played at 190, 188, 190, but I played bigger because in my mind, people may have saw me as a kitty cat, so to speak, when it came to measurements, but my mentality, I was a lion. I was a roaring lion, and everybody felt my roar. So again, the battle of the mind, know who you are. Love and more love, people. Love and more love. There are going to be times when, people are just going to take advantage of you. They're going to take advantage of you. They just going to do you wrong because we live in a fallen world. People are going to just do things. You just got to learn to love and love and love. If love starts in the root of whatever you're doing, it's going to end up in the fruit. I don't know if you guys just heard what I said, but whatever starts in the root of whatever you do, it's going to end up in the fruit. If it starts in love, no matter what happens in between, it's going to end up in love. All right. So love and more love, people. All right. The next one is keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay. I tell my kids, you can be extravagant, but keep it simple. All right. Because the more complex you make your life, the tougher things become. I'm telling you. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm not telling you what I saw on YouTube. I'm telling you what I know. Keep your life simple. You can still be extravagant, but keep it simple. Okay. The last one, this is a big one here. Ignorance, which is not a bad word. It just means, people think it's a bad word, but ignorance is your enemy. Ignorance is your enemy. Knowledge of the truth is your ally. So whatever you're doing, if you feel like you're not excelling in it, go check yourself. The enemy that's keeping you from excelling is probably ignorance, all right? Because knowledge is your ally. Knowledge is there to help you. So again, those are the 7. And, again, hopefully I can come back some other time and just, dive into it deeper. But yeah, that's some good stuff, Ken. Thank you.
Tyrone, amazing stuff. Thank you. And please, for anyone that's on the call today, please go buy his book from his website. I want to see a bunch of you guys get his autograph. I know I'm going to get a slew of them here for some of our staff, but just want to say thank you. A ton of gems today. Obviously, as we talk more and more, anything I can do to repay the favor, please, we'll talk offline. But I just want to say thank you for everyone that's on the call today. If you can take your phones, computers, etc. off mute, we appreciate it. Tyrone, have an amazing Friday. I'm gonna
Tyrone. Thank you, Tyrone.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff.
All right, Tyrone, thank you. All right, guys, happy Friday. See you guys.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrone. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Bye.